Welcome back to the Faces of Melrose Real Estate. My name is Jeanne McAndrews, and I'm here today with Christine Rocha from RE/MAX Leading Edge, who will be hosting the show. Today's show will feature Lou Izzi from the law firm of Bell Izzi, Chris Cowher from Patriot Community Bank, and Craig Foley, who is the Chief of Energy Solution at RE/MAX Leading Edge and co-founder of In Charge Energy. The theme for today's show is green living and energy efficiency, and our vendor spotlight is Travis Estes, who is the Director of Outreach for Next Step Living.
Hello and welcome. I'd like to start off the show with some great news. We are entering into the spring market. As we do every episode, I kind of give an overview as far as the active listings that are on the market. And for April, we actually had 34 active single-family homes come on the market. 14 of those came on just last week. So right now we have 18 active single-family properties on the market in Melrose. For condos, 12 active condos came on the market in April. So we have 6 right now that are active presently on the market. And for multifamily properties, we added 3 additional multifamilies to the market, and we have 6 active multifamily properties on the market in Melrose right now. So still very much a seller's market, but we're getting there. So it is good news. As Jeanne had mentioned previously, we are talking about green living and energy efficiency on this show, and we are so lucky to have Craig Foley and Travis Estes with us this evening. Craig and I actually work together at RE/MAX Leading Edge. Craig is the Chief Energy Solutions at RE/MAX, as Jeanne had mentioned, and also the co-founder of In Charge Energy. Craig actually has a very long list of accomplishments, and he should be very proud. I'm going to share some of them with you now. He serves as the Advocacy Coordinator for Mass Chapter of the U.S. Green Building Council. He was one of 5 people in the U.S. to receive the Evergreen Award by the National Association of Realtors Green Resource Council in 2013 for his advocacy in the green real estate industry. He is a Mass Certified Real Estate Instructor, where he has developed a Realty's New Reality. Did I say that right?
Yep.
The Energy High Efficiency Performance Home Market in Massachusetts. Craig is a public speaker and has addressed many organizations on this topic. He is also has a NAR Green designation as a realtor, and he lives in Melrose with his wife Sally and their 2 children. And Travis, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, first, thank you very much for having me here today.
Thank you.
So I actually joined Next Step Living about 3 years ago, started out as an energy advisor. Prior to that, I worked in brownfields redevelopment. And then prior to that was an English teacher, among other things.
Okay.
So, really important to me is the education component of what we're doing about empowering residents as it relates to energy efficiency and ways to make their lives as a whole more sustainable. So that's where I'm coming from on this.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Craig, can you tell me just really basic, what is an energy efficient home and why is it so important?
Sure. Well, let's start with the second question. It's a great question. It's important for a couple of reasons, certainly. You just detailed what a seller's market it is right now, and Travis is in the process of buying a home. He can
attest as well.
Attest that this is a seller's market. There's no two ways about it. Okay. And home prices here in Massachusetts are high. I mean, it's expensive to live here. There's no question about it. It's a great place to live, and that's why the prices are so high. But they're high. And incomes haven't risen with housing prices. So I think one of the huge values for energy efficiency is the homeowner really has an opportunity to get control of their operating costs. The national numbers say your electricity bills, your natural gas bills, your oil bills, your water bills account for about 15% of your total spend for housing. On a monthly, on an annual basis. Okay. That's a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And if we can drop that number for our buyers, there's a better chance they're going to be able to stay in that home. They have more buying power. Mm-hmm. So that's one aspect of this that I think is really vital and key. The other part is, the average home here in Massachusetts uses 109 million BTUs of energy every year. That's a lot of power to heat, light, cool our homes, power all the gadgets,
All
all
the
the
toys.
appliances
Yes.
that we have. It's a lot of energy.
Okay.
We have homes here in Massachusetts right now in this marketplace that use 0 BTUs or produce the same number of BTUs or more than they use on an annual basis.
Okay.
So that's huge. I've said this to you before in some of the classes that I've done for Leading Edge. We sell homes. We don't sell climate change solutions. But the reality is that we have an incredible opportunity in our industry to participate and be part of that solution, which is part of the reason why we've, as you know, we've
Yes.
developed a partnership with Next Step Living
Yes.
that we think is really vital. We're very mission-aligned companies, but these guys are the pros that can really bring the value of energy efficiency to the existing homes that are here in New England.
Okay, wonderful. When you think about the inventory that we have, being in this area, being in Melrose, not too much on new construction,
Right.
but if a buyer is interested in new construction, how can they tell if the new construction is energy efficient?
Right. And I agree with you on some level that right now there's not a lot of new construction as there is in other parts of the country. There was a recent study though done that was published at the beginning of the year in January that did an analysis on new housing stock needed in Greater Boston just to sustain our growth here in the Greater Boston area.
Okay.
And they predicted we needed 435,000 housing units by 2040. New
addition
housing
to.
units,
Okay.
yes, yeah, new housing units. So
Okay.
that market is
be
needed,
growing. Yes.
and as we know, because there's so little inventory out there,
Yes.
there's a need for new housing out there.
Okay.
For many of the communities here in Boston, in Greater Boston, they're participate in something called Green Communities Act. It was legislation passed by Deval Patrick, signed by Deval Patrick in 2008.
Okay.
Melrose is one of the participants in Green Communities Act.
Okay.
One of the things that we get for participating with GCA is we get funding to upgrade our municipal buildings. One of our obligations is that we adhere to something called the stretch code, which is a more rigorous energy efficient code for new construction that happens here in Melrose or additions.
Okay.
So if you're doing any kind of new construction in a stretch code community, you're building something that's more energy efficient than the average new construction, by definition. But there are other more rigorous building codes or green certified certifications for housing that are out there. Energy Star for homes, LEED certified homes, National Green Building Standard, which is administered by the National Association of Home Builders, has a more rigorous green certification as well. So those are some of the examples that are out there.
Okay, all right. And when it comes to our existing homes, and a lot of them being older existing homes, how do we make those more energy efficient?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it's really the crux of the matter here in New England, right? I do real estate, in Somerville primarily. That housing stock, 65% of the housing stock was built before 1940.
Absolutely.
Here in Melrose, 40% of the housing stock was built, in the 1800s. And we've got to have solutions for those homeowners to get control of their operating costs and become more energy efficient. That's the great thing about what Next Step Living does, and I'm going to let Travis pick up the rest of that question because he's got the solutions.
All right.
Sure, and this is something that a lot of residents, they don't really even know that they have opportunities or that they have options. They feel like they live in an older home, it's leaky, it's drafty, it's uncomfortable, and they think, well, that's just what I'm stuck with. It's just the age of the home. What's really nice about Massachusetts and what we have here through the utilities is the Mass Save program. Now, the Mass Save program is fantastic because it actually empowers residents to make wise energy upgrades in the way of weatherization, which means insulating their attics, their walls, as well as air sealing, which is kind of a step up, complement to insulation. And then additional incentive and rebates for things like heating systems and even going as far as windows. So that's where Next Step Living comes in. As a home performance contractor, we're the largest one in the state providing the Mass Save program. And our goal really is to make sure that every resident that is eligible for this program has the opportunity to take advantage of it. Now, most folks aren't aware that every month they pay a little fee, a systems benefit charge on their utility bills, and that fee actually goes to these programs.
Okay.
So you can imagine the shock in many scenarios when we're speaking to a family and we say, you're paying for this every month. And at that point, they say, well, I might as well take advantage of it. Now, it gets even a little better than that, though, because not only are you paying for this every month, and so you might as well take advantage of it, but the energy assessment itself is completely at no cost.
Okay.
So the utilities are paying for that out of that systems benefit charge. And through that energy assessment, which typically takes 2 to 3 hours, depending on the size of the home, it may take a little bit more.
Okay.
You're going to get kind of a head-to-toe assessment of your house. The advisors will start down in the basement typically. They're going to look at your heating system. They're going to be checking a couple of things. Number one, just to understand the age of it and the condition. They're also going to be looking at the health of that heating system by doing what's called a combustion safety test. Now that's going to tell us, number one, the efficiency. Okay. So if you've got a system that's really old and inefficient, most people don't know how to tell. Well, there's actually a way we can measure that and let you know.
Okay.
Beyond that, it also helps us understand, is your system spilling harmful gases into your living space? And as an advisor myself in the past, it was always a little bit concerning when you go into homes with children, and I've got a 7-month at home. I would hate for there to be a situation where my heating system is spilling out, harmful fumes.
Absolutely.
And so these energy assessments that are no cost, if nothing else, can give you that peace of mind that your heating system's operating safely in your home. So beyond that, the other things that the advisors are going to be keeping an eye out for are things like, do you have insulation in your walls?
Okay.
If you have a home that was built before the mid-1950s, early 60s, odds are you probably don't. And so again, it's great to know that, and then it's also great to know what resources are available to help take care of it. The attic is another area. Even if you have insulation in an attic, if you've got an unfloored attic, in most cases what we find is that you don't have an adequate enough amount of insulation up there.
Okay.
The Department of Energy recommends about 12 inches for this region, 11 to 12 inches. And under the Mass Save program, they provide weatherization incentives and rebates to help get us there. I had mentioned the air sealing, which is one of the most critical parts of the assessment and the potential weatherization opportunity.
Okay.
The air sealing in the attic and the basement rim joists is something that the utilities believe so passionately about that it helps, and that it is completely paid for by the utilities through their instant rebates. So when you get these opportunities, if you have a home, and let's say you need some weatherization work 6 inches in your insulation for your attic, you might already have some.
Okay.
Most homes don't already have the air sealing. And so in many cases, the rebate structure is set up where it pays for 75% up to $2,000 a year for these upgrades. You can get your attic taken care of, for $500, $600, and that's air sealing and insulating. That's going to really make your home more comfortable. It's going to reduce the amount of air flowing in the bottom of your house and out the top.
Okay.
So this feeling of draftiness, and that's going to be addressed. And then beyond that, you aren't going to be using as much heating fuel to stay comfortable in your home. And that's where the savings really comes into play. The insulation for the walls is a similar story. The way they have to do that is they have to drill in some small holes about 2 inches throughout, and hopefully they can do it from the outside, but sometimes they have to do it to the inside of the house. But they're going to fill your wall cavities with insulation. And the idea is to create a really tight thermal boundary throughout your house. And at the end of the day, that means you're more comfortable, you're paying less, and to Craig's point, these are the types of common sense measures that actually help reduce our carbon impact on our environment. So, as someone who can work for a company and proudly say, we're an environmentalist type of organization, I am absolutely. I'm really proud of the fact that the work we're doing is actually helping to mitigate the effects of climate change, for future generations.
Absolutely.
So, the Mass Save program is great. It's been around for decades. Again, most people don't know about it.
No.
That no-cost energy assessment is just sitting there waiting for it. If you haven't had one since August 2011,
Okay.
you should absolutely sign up. You can actually sign up at nextstepliving.com, or as well through the Melrose Energy Commission, which is an organization that we've worked with for about 3 years now. That's what drew me to Melrose. You might have heard that Craig has actually been helping us to find and buy a home. And
yes.
we're really excited about that. And our search was centered on Melrose because we really found a sense of community that we loved here.
Yes.
And I was able to connect with that community through my work with the Energy Commission. So what I found was there were folks that had the same kind of passion and that wanted to really do common sense things, which is kind of what this comes down to. It's a common sense approach. And but it's a tough market. We put down multiple offers. You know?
Seller's market.
And, but
we got it done.
We did.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're really excited. But yeah, you know, and so I can definitely attest that it's rough out there, you know, going to open houses and there's 30 or 40 families, and
Yes,
you know, all of
yes.
them got a kid strapped to them just
Yes.
like us, and they're all hungry for it. But you know, it's been a roller coaster. But for me, as someone who knows about this, when I would go into a home, some of the first things I was actually looking for
Yes.
were what type of heating system does it have? Are they heating with oil? If they have gas, do they have a high efficiency system? Have the windows been upgraded, or do they have good storm windows? I was that person at the open house with my flashlight poking around in the attics, trying to see how much insulation was up there. And I think that, you know, as companies like ours continue to educate residents, that's going to be the type of folks that are out there buying. You know, if they have that knowledge, that's going to be something that matters. And that absolutely impacted the decisions we made on some homes to bid more or to go for more, because we thought, you know, this is worth
Okay.
more to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's you know, something that I would advise whenever we're looking at families that are thinking about selling. Well, you should get the energy assessment if you haven't. Do the weatherization work, because there are going to be people that's going to matter for. And there's some great statistics out there about, you know, for every dollar spent on reducing your energy costs, that adds, is it $20 to the cost of the house. So, you know, there are great cost-effective measures. You're fighting climate change, whether you like it or not.
Yes.
And, you know, you're adding home value, and you're making your family more comfortable, and, you know, making sure they're safe.
And Travis is one of the buyers that even if you were buying a home that wasn't, you know, to use the term, it wasn't greened up.
Sure.
He knows the opportunities that are out there to be able to do that after the sale, after the point of sale. And I think that's one of the ways that we can participate as in the real estate industry to help our buyers know that those opportunities are out
there.
there to take advantage of them.
Absolutely.
You know, after the point of close.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I mean, those opportunities. One thing that is also kind of hanging out there, like the no-cost assessment, is a 0% interest heat loan. And that heat loan is, again, part of the utility program, and it helps to bridge that gap to make those weatherization upgrades or those heating system upgrades more accessible and affordable. There are even additional incentives right now for heating systems through the early boiler replacement program and the early furnace replacement program. So right now, you know, it's a great time if you haven't had that energy assessment and you've got those issues, or maybe you don't know. It's a great time to find out, and there are lots of good opportunities to maximize the money that's out there.
And if you think you didn't hear that right, I'm going to reiterate that.
Okay.
It's 0% financing. It's an incredible,
Right.
incredible deal.
That is amazing. Is
Yeah.
there a dollar cap on it, or is there?
So it is up to $25,000. The terms are typically around 7 years.
Okay.
It varies from lender to lender. There are great lenders here in Melrose that actually offer that as well.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a great opportunity. Again, most people aren't aware of it.
Aren't
And
aware
so
of it.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
Change
okay.
that.
All right. Good. Good. Well, it's an important message, obviously, to
Absolutely.
get out there. No, correct me if I'm wrong, but solar. That's
Yeah.
another big component of your company. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
because I know I drive around and I'm starting to see more and more solar panels.
Well, I think there are even some folks in this room that have some solar panels that were installed by us. You know,
Yeah.
so that's great. And you know, it's funny that you say that when you're driving around and you get to see them. I mean, that's got to be one of the great kind of joys of my job right now, is that when I get to drive around with my family in towns like Melrose and others, you know, and I see a solar array, odds
Yes.
are that's because of the work that, you know,
That
I
you've
was
done.
doing in that community and that my company was able to deliver to those residents. And so it's, you know, it's a
Rewarding.
really rewarding opportunity. Now, solar is something that, especially within Massachusetts, has just really taken off over the last 5 years or so.
Okay.
And we have been fortunate enough to participate in programs like the Solarized Mass program. We were the provider here as part of Solarized Melrose a few years ago.
Okay.
We're actually working in Watertown right now. We just wrapped up a really successful program with the city of Boston. And through those programs, it really is about, similar to the energy efficiency, making sure residents are aware of the programs that are out there, and that they understand the savings potential and all the incentives that they might not be around forever. And to be honest, at the rate that utility prices keep going up,
Yes.
the sooner you can get on to something like solar panels or any renewable energy opportunity, the better off you are.
Okay.
Now, there is kind of the reality of New England, and this is true for many parts of the country, and that is not every home is good for solar.
Okay.
So, we're in a situation where roughly 15% of homes in a given community are good for solar. That means that they have the right orientation, so they're facing the sun, so they get enough light.
Okay.
They have, the right lack of shading, so there's no trees that are really, shading the panels and preventing the sunlight from getting to them.
Okay.
And they don't have any roof obstructions, pipe vents and other things.
Okay.
That weeds out a lot of homes.
Okay.
Now, one of the nice things too that we're actually bringing to the market over the next couple of months is a program through Community Solar. And this means that for all of those residents, that 85% of homes that aren't good for solar will actually have an opportunity to go solar, to own panels on an off-site facility that is metered to their account, so they get all of the benefits that someone would if they had it on their roof. But in the past they just didn't have it. It really is kind of about, we kind of joke in the office about democratizing solar. Like, we're able to bring it to a population that has been hungry for it.
Okay.
And this is a brand new program.
This
the
is
Next Step Living
right.
is just
This is
starting to jump
absolutely
into, right?
something that is just now. Like today type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right.
we are
and you're hearing
early.
it now. You're hearing
Yes,
it here.
yeah.
Yeah. But so we are really
This is
excited
breaking
about
news.
that.
Breaking news, that's
we are
right.
bringing that to the market, and so again, nextstepliving.com is a great place to learn about all of these programs.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, well, thank you so much,
Yeah,
Travis,
thank you.
for joining us. And when we return, we will continue our discussion with Craig. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello and welcome back. We're here to continue our discussion with Craig Foley regarding green living and energy efficient homes. Craig, one thing I've been thinking about, and I'm wondering, energy efficiency. If somebody goes ahead and does this type of work to their home, do you think it will add value to their home if they decide to put it on the market, similar to what maybe a kitchen renovation or a new bath might do?
Mm-hmm. It's a great question. There are several national studies that support that. There hadn't been a study done in Massachusetts to deal with that issue specifically. So when I joined RE/MAX Leading Edge in 2012, that was something that I wanted to take a look at.
Okay.
So when we went through the 2012 market, which isn't the market it is today,
Sure.
but I decided to see if I could find a metric in a study that gave some definition for Massachusetts buyers that said that was in fact the case. I looked at the communities that we had offices in. It was 12 offices at that point. And one of the things that I was hearing a lot in our offices,
Yes.
I'm sure you've heard it from your buyers, is, I don't want to buy a home that's heated with oil. It costs too much.
Sure. Sure.
So I took a look at that. And one of the things that the Energy Information Administration, the EIA, produces is a lot of metrics, a lot of numbers across the United States. And they produced some numbers for Massachusetts homeowners for their projections for what was then the 2012-2013 heating season, so October to March.
Okay.
And what they said was that for the average Massachusetts homeowner that heated their home with oil, it was going to cost them $2,553 to heat their home with oil for that heating season. That was the projected cost. The projected cost to heat their home with natural gas for that heating season was $1,007.
Wow, big difference.
Over a $1,500 delta between those two numbers. So that, that feeling that buyers had that, buying a home that's heated with oil is a little scary, it's a little too expensive, is certainly, the numbers say that is the case. So what I did was I looked at the 12 communities that we have offices in, and I looked at every single family that was sold in 2012 in those 12 communities. It was something like 4,600 homes that I analyzed. Broke them down by the homes heated with natural gas versus the homes heated with oil.
Okay.
And what I found was pretty surprising. There is, in fact, a price premium for homes heated with natural gas that was showing up in the data. And it was surprising even to me. I anticipated there would be a small premium for homes heated with natural gas. It was much bigger than I thought it. It was $11 per square foot. So for the average home, a 2,000 square foot home in this community, that's a $22,000 difference, a premium for a home heated with natural gas versus a home heated with oil. That said to me that $1,500, difference, you look at it from 2012, 2013, 2014, that adds up. It's significant enough for a home buyer to place a premium for a home that has lower operating costs, which is really what we're talking about with energy efficiency. It's allowing the homeowner to get control of the operating costs of their home. We've talked about this before, but the average homeowner across the nation, it's higher here in Massachusetts, but for the total cost of home ownership, our energy bills, whether we heat our home with natural gas or oil or propane, our electricity bills, our water bills, add up to about 15% of our total home costs. So it's a significant chunk of money. And if we can help a homeowner gain control over that makes a lot of sense. And home buyers are seeing the value. They understand it. They're getting it. There's no question about it.
So that same analysis can be true whether or not you're looking to buy or sell. The conversion from oil to gas, it would seem that data suggests that there's a significant savings over a number of years, so that one could, pretty easily, in a relatively short period of time, recoup the costs that they would incur in converting from oil to gas.
That's what the data said. I mean, if you've got gas on your street and you still got oil in your house, that conversion, might be $8,000, $9,000, $10,000. If that can recoup, $22,000 at the point of sale, that seems like it's a good investment.
And with the incentives that Travis had talked about last segment, the financing incentives and the rebates and so forth, your savings could be even greater.
Yeah. One of the things that Next Step Living offers as well, particularly for homeowners that heat their home with oil, and they may not have an opportunity, gas doesn't come down their street. There's something called an air source heat pump, which is a new technology. It's been around for a while in the southern part of the country, but it's now so efficient we can even use it here in the Northeast. And it's a great solution for a homeowner that heats their home with oil. They can still keep the oil system in, but use it as a backup system and use this air source heat pump. So the way a heat pump works is it actually pulls heat from the exterior atmosphere. And, technically, any temperature above absolute zero has heat in it. And you can divide that heat from the air and pull it into the home and heat your home. So it's an incredible technology, and it's now so efficient that we can use it for down to about 10 degrees it works, and then you'd want your oil system to kick in. But that might be 5-8 days a year, and it's a much more efficient way of going. Yep.
When we're talking about buyers and sellers, and this being a seller's market, what are some of the advantages that you see, if any, in having an energy assessment done prior to placing a home on the market?
Yeah, if I'm working with a home seller and we know their window for putting the property on the market is 6 months out, it's an absolute no-brainer to do as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
I'm really trying to encourage my sellers to do that. There's no question about it. And one of the value adds that we're trying to incorporate into with all our agents at RE/MAX Leading Edge is for the buyers of the home to understand that the options that they have, post-closure, some of the solutions that are available with what Next Step Living is doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it makes a lot of sense for the home seller to, if they've got the time, to be able to do the home energy assessment, do some upgrades, and you have the right realtor to be able to convey what you've done to the home buyers, it makes all kinds of sense to me, Lou.
The one thing I didn't ask Travis, and maybe you would know this, Craig, is, so say for instance, a couple of years ago, I had a home energy audit, and now I'm thinking about selling my house, and I want to have another one.
Yeah.
Can you have more than one?
You can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have to go one full calendar year, though, before you can have your next one, or else you'd have to pay for it.
Okay.
So, yeah, but that's when the next free energy, the no-cost energy assessment is available to you.
And do people do that? I mean, do you
They
see
do.
benefit? They
Yeah.
do.
So
Okay.
one of the great ways to go is if you need insulation not only in your attic, but also down your sidewalls.
Okay.
What homeowners will do the attic first for 1 year.
Okay.
Take advantage of that huge
the
incentive that
incentive.
the state offers.
Okay.
$2,000 off a $2,500 install. So you're paying $500 for blown-in insulation in your
awesome.
attic. You do that 1 year, you wait the next year, and then you do
You get the incentive
sidewalls,
again.
and you get the incentive again. Yeah.
It's an excellent strategy,
That
Yeah.
is-
particularly because I've employed
Did you
that
take
strategy.
advantage?
I did. Through Next Step Living, by the way.
Yep.
But it's a terrific program.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's one that I recommend to all my clients as well, whether they're buying or selling.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear that you reiterate that in your circles, because it's very important.
Yeah.
And from a buyer's perspective, shifting gears a little bit, do you find these days that buyers are more conscious of homes that are energy efficient? And if so, how are they able to discern which homes are energy efficient if the seller and the listing agent aren't as energy savvy as perhaps you are or some of the other agents at RE/MAX Leading Edge?
Well, there's a wide variety of buyers out there, obviously. Certainly, I find buyers that are looking for their first-time investments, that buyer is very conscious of what's going on with their utility costs, and they're asking that question: can you grab the utility bills from the seller? The problem, I mean, that's a great question to ask. It can give you good data. But the problem with that is that the variability among residential end users of power is
Yes.
it has a huge variety
Sure.
to it, you know. So there might be someone that heats their home at 58 degrees during the winter, you know, and another person that heats their home at 78 degrees, you know. But you look at the utility bills, you'd think, well, you know, the person that heats their home at 78, that's crazy. I'm not going to buy that one. That house could be more energy efficient than the homeowner that's heating
Sure.
their home at 58 degrees. So we need something to be able to analyze the homes themselves, not just the energy consumption of the end users, which has that wide variety to it.
So what about as far as home inspections? Is there a way, or are there home inspectors now that are starting to become more aware of energy efficiency?
Yes,
Okay.
there definitely are. There's a home inspector that lives here in Melrose, great home inspector. He's very savvy about what's going on in this marketplace, and in fact participated in the Solarize Massachusetts Melrose campaign. He has a 4.3 kilowatt size system on the backside of his roof.
Okay.
So he's somebody that I'm very comfortable recommending to a buyer that I have a buyer's agreement with, and it is focused on that kind of property. You know, does it have the ability to put solar on this roof? Because as Travis said, not every property does. You know, and if it does, then you know it helps to have a home inspector that's got one
Absolutely.
installed and knows how to speak that language. Definitely. Yeah.
Sure.
Do you know, are there other tests that might be performed, or other, I don't know, just is there other information that a home inspector would be able to give besides, you know, the idea of the direction of the house? Or I don't know if it goes that far yet or not.
Yeah. There, you know, I can see that coming
Okay.
in the future.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it could, you know, there is a bill in front of the Joint Committee for Telecommunications, Energy, and Utilities at the State House. It's Senate Bill 1587, I think. And that bill, I'm not sure that it's going to go anywhere this session, but that bill says that it would be a requirement in the real estate transaction for us as listing agents to not only bring the smoke and the carbon monoxide test to the closing, but also to bring a home energy assessment, having been done in the last year.
Wow.
So that's being discussed. You know, I mean, that's kind of what's happening at this upper level of the marketplace, at the 50,000 foot level. There's a lot happening to support the market that we're talking about right now. It's emerging, it's coming, and I think it's inevitable. You know?
Does that bill just require that the assessment be done, or does it require that any type of remediation, or the property that's being sold meet certain minimum levels?
Not as it's written right now. It just
Okay.
requires that the home energy assessment be completed.
Because I could see how that might be problematic. You
Sure.
know, forcing people to engage
Yep.
in those type of improvements might be
Yep.
cost prohibitive for some, or just something that individuals don't want to get involved in.
That's
so
right.
I could see how that would become problematic. So I'm interested in that. I'll have to take a look at that someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another program, there's a pilot program going on in the western part of our state right now. 8 communities around Springfield, Massachusetts. And with each home energy assessment that's done in these communities, they're putting a building asset rating on the single family home. So this is a control for the issue that we talked about earlier, where you know, the residential end user, you know, uses power in very different ways. This puts an energy asset rating on the building itself, which I think is a very smart thing for our marketplace.
It allows people to compare apples
That's
to
right.
apples, and so that there's a level playing field with
Exactly
respect to how
right.
to discern energy consumption or energy
We've
efficiency.
already got
Yeah.
energy asset ratings in place right now for cars.
For cars,
right?
right.
Exactly.
Okay, sure.
I mean, I know nothing about a car, Lou. So when
Right.
I go to a car dealer, I look at the side window and I see price, and I see, you know, the number of miles per gallon. You know, I mean, I don't make as much money as you do, Lou. So you know, it matters to me how many miles per gallon that I that I get on the car, and it matters to me from an energy efficient energy efficiency perspective too. And we've got that in place. It's for consumers. That's coming here in Massachusetts.
Okay.
Interesting. I'm thinking back to a class that I took of yours, and one interesting point, and I think we've kind of covered this, but I want to bring it up again because I found it that interesting, that home inspections in the 1980s were just kind of coming into play at that point.
Right.
And you kind of equated that now to the home energy assessment.
Yeah.
That even though it's not quite there yet, at one point we could in the future see a home energy assessment by a buyer, perhaps,
Yeah.
be as important as a home inspection
Right.
is going through the process.
Right. Yeah, and there's pushback in our industry for some of the things that we're talking about right
Yes.
now, kind of at the state level. I understand why that's there. As real estate agents, we've been through a lot for the last 5 years, 6 years. We start a process at point A where we shake a buyer's hand or we shake a seller's hand, and the reality is for you and I, we don't get paid until point Z. There's a lot of letters in the alphabet in between. There's home inspections, there's bank commitments. Back in 2009, 2010, some of the deals were breaking down at Y at the closing table when all of a sudden they couldn't be funded from the bank. There was some crazy stuff going on in this industry. So I understand the fear of adding a couple more letters to the alphabet in here. But I do feel that it's a good the parallel of the kind of pushback that home inspectors felt in the 1980s of being the person that was trying to work their way into the home transaction, and the pushback, the same kind of level of pushback was there as I think we're experiencing now in the marketplace that I'm interested in, the market transformation that I see is inevitable.
You talked a second ago about a particular home inspector here in Melrose that is savvy in this area and therefore would be somebody that you would recommend to particular buyers who are conscientious of energy efficiency when looking at homes.
If I have a buyer's agreement.
Yes, if you do, of course. Do you find any buyers inquiring or asking to determine whether or not they can have a home energy assessment performed, or have the seller
I've had
engage in a
buyers.
home energy assessment?
I've had buyers ask me that, and my honest recommendation is, I wouldn't ask that in this marketplace right now.
I understand.
Yeah. Because it's such an aggressive marketplace. Putting another contingency on an offer right now makes no sense, given how difficult it is.
Sure.
But the opportunity for the home buyer after the point of closing is so there. The incentives are so fantastic.
Of course.
And we're finding, when things sometimes break down at a home inspection, I've had some of the realtors from our office contact me and say, what are the solutions available for this heating system? And when I talk about the heat loan, for instance, all it can,
Really,
keep the deal together.
There shouldn't be any type of, in my opinion, a negotiation should not break down simply over a heating system or a hot water heater for that reason, because you have those incentives available. Right. And so really,
but you understand the fear a buyer may have, but I agree with you. The solutions out there are just fantastic right now. Yeah.
But that's our obligation to counsel them, to let them know that there are
right.
solutions out
Yeah.
there. We refer them to you so that you can put them in touch with Travis.
All right, well, thank you. And when we return, we're going to be speaking with Chris Cowher regarding mortgage opportunities for green living. Thank you. Hello, and we're back now, not only with Craig, but also now with Chris, and we will be discussing financing options. And my first question, I guess, Chris, is regarding all of the improvements that we've been talking about, energy efficient improvements that go on. Is there any type of loan through your bank or a bank, an institution, that would allow us to go ahead and make these improvements?
Sure, there sure is. And what's nice about it is I think it's nice to hear that the financing industries and those that back them are starting to catch up with the need to, provide more energy efficient homes and are getting behind that. Matter of fact, many of the mortgage backers like Fannie Mae and places like that have come up with programs that will allow people to finance in a lot of these costs. So whether you are buying a house, building a new house, refinancing a house, and you can make part of those improvements to make your house green added into the cost. The guidelines are the same as you're qualifying for a loan anyway. The rates are the same. You know, you can get fixed rate or adjustable rate products. And what's nice about it is that you can go up to 15% of the value of the house in improvements and add those in, and they're financeable. And again, there's no extra hit to the interest rate or the process. As a matter of fact, the mortgage industry recognizes that after you do those improvements and all these great improvements that are available that can be done, that's going to result in some real savings to somebody's monthly payments. So as a lender, we're allowed to take those savings and add that to your income, which will allow you to qualify for more of a mortgage and make it a little easier for you to, to qualify for financing.
Now, if I'm a homeowner, I'm not purchasing, but I'm a homeowner, same type of situation
It's
if I want to go
available
ahead?
to, for refinances if you own an existing home.
Okay.
Again, it all starts with that energy audit. The HERS rating needs to be completed. And that's kind of the driver's seat, whether you do all of the recommended improvements or you pick and choose what you can. And that comes to a certain amount. Again, the rule that you want to stay under is 15% of the current value of the house. But, with home values the way they are right now, that could add up to a lot of money. So, again, that can be added. Interest rates are the same. So you can take advantage of low interest rates, refinance into a different mortgage program, add the cost of the improvements all in there, and have it all be financeable for you.
And Chris just made reference to a HERS rating. It's a little different than what Next Step Living does, which is a home energy assessment with an advisor.
Okay.
A HERS rating is kind of an advisor on steroids. They do a much more rigorous test of the house.
Okay.
It's a great thing to have done. They do things like blower door tests, so they test how much air leakage you're losing in a really rigorous testing process. And that's part and parcel of the energy efficient mortgage, the EEMs, right, Chris?
Right, exactly. That's the type of audit that is needed to drive the, improvements to the home. And again, those are, they're not astronomical in cost. I think they're anywhere from, $5 to $700.
Okay.
And again, they are, they test like, they'll clear all up in your attic, and again, they'll put the blower on your door. And what that does is suck all the air out, and how hard that fan has to work is, gives a rating and things like that, and where air is coming in. So it really does, and it's an extensive audit of your home. But then again, it allows the current owner or the future buyer of the home or the new person that's entering the house to really see where their money can be spent best. Maybe they can't do everything all at once, but maybe they want to pick and choose the things that will give them the biggest benefit, and know that, again, we can add those costs in there, and again, we can take the savings that they're going to have from that and add it to their income.
I'll tell you, it's great to hear a mortgage originator speaking this language. I mean, it tells you where the market's going right now, too, that you're feeling like you need to get a handle on what's going on.
And
with this
listening,
stuff. I mean, it's part of the market.
It is, and listening to the show too. We, in the seminars and things that I've attended regarding this topic, the industry realizes that New England has the oldest home base in America. The homes are getting old here. They're starting to come up with more products and programs that can help, rehab those homes. And I think this is one of the better kept secrets out there. This is not a new mortgage program. We've had it for a while.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to start coming to the forefront as we educate people and as more professionals enter the industry that can offer these services and deliver them at different levels, the finance level, the real estate professional level, the energy company levels. When all of those can start to come together and have a better knowledge of this program, I think that's when you'll see it really start to take off and people take advantage of it. There's no extra charge for it. And I think it's, and when we qualify for somebody, it's actually easier to qualify somebody. There's no negatives here as far as financing goes. It can only be a positive. Again, keep it under 15% of the value,
Okay.
Which again, I find in the ones that I've done, it's not that hard to do that. Usually, you got a $300,000 home and you have $30,000 improvements. You can do a lot of upgrades
So you
for
can
that.
do windows, there's no
Windows,
restriction as far
nope.
as, okay.
As long as, again, that portion of it is going to, that energy HERS audit is driving it. If they
Okay.
recommend
I
new
see.
windows, if they recommend, I don't pretend to do what these guys do. I'm the finance guy. But again, that's the driver to what it is. And again, if they recommend these type of steps and the results of those steps will lower that energy needs of that house accordingly, all of those things can be financed in there as long as they're energy related. And again, it even goes to some of the appliances and things that they have a star rating.
Right.
And that all becomes part of that audit too. So some of those can be involved there too, whether it's a dishwasher or a permanent stove or
With an Energy Star.
Right,
yeah,
with an
appliance.
Energy Star
Yep.
rating. That all becomes part of that HERS rating or
Yep.
the energy efficiency of a home and can be included in there, if it's attached to the house.
And your underwriters are
Right.
getting this as well, right?
Yes, we
Which
have
is
an underwriter,
critical. I mean,
right,
it's
that
got to get to that point.
Understands
Yeah.
that, and again, what's nice about it is they understand that they can take the savings from that and apply it to income and help people
Gives them more
qualify.
buying power.
It does.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. I mean, if somebody's calling me to refinance a home, it's something that, again, if the home is older, when was it built in the 50s, it's something that I plan on mentioning more to my clients as we go by, as well as
Opportunity.
people who are building new homes. I think that they're really more in the leading edge of it as well right now, just because of building codes and things. But again, to deliver an end product that's an energy efficient home makes them much more marketable, that they can clearly understand the value that's been added to that house by making it energy efficient. Or taking an existing home, people that have done this type of work are kind of proud of it. They don't mind telling people
Sure.
that these are the improvements I've done. This is the savings that I've resulted in. And it's also nice to know that the financial institutions are, willing to, put the money on the line to help those improvements because they realize the ultimate benefit of those improvements being done to a home.
There was a study done that was published in March 2013 that University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill did. Rigorous study, 71,000 homes. And this was during, the time when it was tough, from 2008 to 2013, when the mortgage industry was going under, a tough day. And this study looked at these 71,000 homes, and it said homeowners that owned Energy Star rated homes, so just like an appliance can be Energy Star rated, a home can get an Energy Star rating as well. And homeowners that own those Energy Star rated homes were 32% less likely to default on their mortgage during that bad time span than homeowners that didn't own Energy Star rated homes. And the price point was about $225, a fairly median price point for the country, So I think a lot of lenders.
That's good for us to hear. We don't want to foreclose on anybody.
Right,
so
exactly. Nor do we. We want to sell that home,
Right.
7 years from now. We don't want to sell it in a foreclosure auction.
The benefits are tremendous. All of us, I think, could, if we haven't taken advantage of some of these different options that we're talking about tonight, we all should take a breath and at least put it in our plan to do that for our homes now.
Good for our industry.
And it is. It is nothing but a positive message. And again, energy costs aren't going to go down anytime soon. And as we try to juggle our budgets and things like that, any savings that we can have, it's big. It's and again, when you have a home that's older, especially, there's so much new technology out there that can make these homes much more efficient. And again, I'm glad that the mortgage industry is catching up and able to provide some support and some product for that.
The only good news, the electricity bills went up about 38% this winter. The only good news about that is if you did do energy efficiency improvements, your return on your investment just got shorter,
Yeah, it's true.
Okay.
Try to look at the glass
At
half
the
full.
positive, yes, exactly. No, I understand. I have a question for you. I was actually reading through a magazine, the Realtors magazine. It's put out by the National Association of Realtors, and I thought you might like to address this. So hopefully, I'm
Sure.
not putting you on the
No,
spot.
go right ahead.
What the survey said, it was a national consumer survey of more than 1,000 Americans, and it was done by a firm, Omnitel, and it said 56% of all potential buyers, so basically people who are looking to buy within the next 24 months, say they're waiting to purchase because they fear being rejected by lenders. What's more is that 30% of current homeowners say they don't think they could qualify for another loan. What are your thoughts on that? Is that a real fear?
There's been so much in the news about the mortgage industry, and the troubles that the mortgage industry caused on the real estate market by giving mortgages to people who shouldn't have had them. So I could see why people have thought the pendulum has swung the other way, and it has. The government has come in and regulated things. They've come in and stepped in. For the last 5 to 7 years, they've changed the way that we do business. So I can certainly understand why people are feeling that way and the apprehensive. But there are some positives out there. People are lending money. The money is available there. Interest rates are still at historic lows.
That's good to hear.
One of the things that you can do is get a pre-approval. I know we've mentioned that on the show here before. There's no cost to that. And the pre-approvals that are done by lenders now really have some teeth to them, meaning you can stand by them. And the people that are out there lending money now are reputable lenders in the communities. The lenders that were doing a lot of no docs and those type of loans, they're pretty much gone now. The people that are in the industry now are here to stay, and they're mostly professionals. But again, if you match yourself up with a good mortgage professional who really knows what they're doing, they should be able to take some of that anxiety away by getting you pre-approved. Again, there's no cost. And if you can't get pre-approved for a mortgage where you're saying, hey, look, you're all set, go find a house, they can tell you what you need to do to get to that point.
Okay.
And again, that should be done at no charge. And whether that plan is a month, a year, or a couple years long, they can at least help you what to focus on, whether it's your credit, whether it's the job and the income that you have, whether it's part-time or full-time, whether you're self-employed and maybe you're taking a lot of deductions and so that your net income is not enough. They can help you focus on the things that you think may not be, may be holding you back from getting that pre-approval.
Okay.
Or what I'm finding is that by far more people that call me that say exactly what you just said can get a mortgage and they get pre-approved, and now they're living in homes.
Okay.
So connect with a mortgage professional. As far as the people who are apprehensive about refinancing, as lenders, we feel the same way. We want to connect with people like that.
Okay.
We know that half of the people that can refinance in this country have not, that qualify. And more than 25% of them have an interest rate 1% higher than the market or more. So there's a lot of people out there with high interest rates that qualify for mortgages that just we haven't connected. And again, we're trying to let people know, call your mortgage lender, your bank, get some recommendations, talk to your neighbors, talk to people, and connect with a good mortgage professional and find out if you can refinance. There's a lot of different programs out there, whether it's a 10-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage, whether it's a 5-year or a 10-year adjustable. There's several different mortgage programs that really could meet the needs of a lot of people out there. And I take advantage of that. Go ahead and make a call and connect up with someone that you feel comfortable with. Hope I answered that question.
Yes, no, you did. No, I know. Like I said, I was hoping I didn't put you on the spot. One thing that we were kind of discussing earlier, and hopefully you might be able to talk a little bit about this as well, is the idea of a commitment before someone even finds a house.
Right.
So versus just a pre-approval, that you might actually be able to get a full mortgage commitment.
It's getting really, really popular now,
Okay.
especially in the market that we're in right now, where you have a seller of a property. They may be looking at 10, 15, 20 offers on a house that's priced right because of the limited inventory.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of buyers. I have twice as many pre-approved buyers right now than I typically do.
Yes, I
So
can imagine.
there's a lot of buyers out there that would like to buy a house, but they may only have a select few homes to look at in the price range or town that they're looking in. So when they do find the right one, they really want to prepare themselves. So what I think you're referring to is what we call a forward commitment,
Okay.
meaning we get the loan committed on, actually approved.
Okay.
We get work on the conditions of that approval, so that all that's missing is the appraisal, is the house.
That's amazing.
So that way, when they do find the house and they make an offer, it may be subject only to the appraisal of the house. And sometimes we can get that done in just a matter of days or a week or so, because the financing is, and that catches up to it. And next thing you know, they have a commitment in their hand.
And
with
you can
the
do
mortgage.
that even with a 5% down buyer. And
Absolutely.
I mean, what an advantage that it is for that
It is.
kind of buyer in particular that's competing with cash buyers or someone putting 30, 50% down. If they go in with a commitment, that's a huge,
we like that
huge
too,
plus.
because we don't want to spin all wheels either.
Right, yeah. yeah.
We want to get people that when they're ready to buy, that we can, get them through the finish line as quickly and without as many problems.
Right.
The loans that sit around for a while, they tend to grow trees out of them and
Yeah.
have problems.
Yeah.
So, when someone wants to find a house, and also, if you're making an offer and the seller can sell quickly, wouldn't it be great to say, hey, I can close in 2 or 3 weeks on
Right.
this house?
Yeah.
Amazing.
It gives them a much better advantage. So again, we encourage people to go through the full commitment process.
Yeah.
A pre-approval is one level.
Yeah.
And again, that's the minimum level that you should have where,
Yeah, right, of
a
course.
lender has checked your income, your assets, your credit,
Yeah.
and, and knows that you can get a mortgage. A forward commitment is much deeper than that. An actual underwriter will look at the file and approve the file so that the loan is committed on, subject to finding the right property. So again, it gives them a much better advantage when they're going in to make an offer on a house. And also, they feel a lot better.
Absolutely.
You know, they're much
More
more
secure.
comfortable, and they feel much better about the process. And again, it can happen a lot quicker. If it takes a while, and they're already approved too, some of the things they may have to update is just like an updated pay stub to show that their income is the same. They may have to give an updated bank statement. So the process is even a much easier if they have a forward commitment and even months have gone by. That's okay too, because we can keep that commitment updated.
But the important thing in this market is the seller has more confidence in that buyer. and
Absolutely.
that's critical.
And that's
Yeah.
exactly.
Absolutely. And again, that, you know, we encourage that. You know, they have to provide extra information to us. You know, we do need the pay stubs and the bank statements and the
Right.
typical things. But the process is not that hard. It's not as bad as you think. So, you know, but
Thank
it's
you.
all in preparation too, you know. And again, if you're prepared to buy a house and you've gotten your forward commitment, you know, everybody's much more comfortable. The transactions go much smoother. So that's very modern, common, getting up to speed right now and what's
Love
going
it.
on in order to meet the needs of the community and make your buyer in the driver's seat. You know, they feel so much more comfortable, almost like a cash buyer at that point.
Absolutely. That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're going to wrap up.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering, is there any other information, any other national trends or anything like that you'd like to kind of end with
Well,
as
I
far
mean,
as
that
energy efficiency?
the University of North Carolina study was a big study that a lot of lending institutions really, you know, that got everybody's eyes going. But there's some other studies out there on a national level that have been really important. There was the biggest study of green certified housing was done in California, and that was over a 5-year period. And this was for new construction homes. New construction, kind of base level building code versus green certified codes. And in California, they found that there was a 9% green premium on the green certified homes. It was a study done by a great company called Earth Advantage in Oregon. They've actually got a green certification for existing homes, which I think is the next phase of the marketplace. And in Portland, Oregon, they found that there was a 30% price premium for an existing home that had the Earth Advantage green certification versus a home that didn't have a green certification. 30% premium, you know? I mean, that's how much value buyers are looking at, you know? And they found for new construction it was that 8% level. So that 8%, 9% level is starting to be kind of consistent throughout the U.S. here. And I think we're going to find that's going to be the case here in Massachusetts. There's no question that buyers are finding value in energy efficiency, in
agree.
lower operating costs. It just makes sense.
Thank you, Craig.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you on our next show.
This concludes our show for today. Thank you for joining us for the Faces of Melrose Real Estate. Please check out our Facebook page and leave any comments for today's show or suggestions for any future episodes. Our artwork was provided again by Follow Your Art, located here in Melrose. The artists for the artwork today are from Seam Prep, which is a public day school for students with intensive special needs. The theme for our next episode will be investment property. And please tune us in on Thursday nights at 8 o'clock, Saturday nights at 7 o'clock, and Wednesday mornings at 11 a.m. Thanks.